You heard that right. Ace Attorney has not only a movie but also an anime and about 11 games. Just don't be confused, we are reviewing today the live action movie and not the anime, right? The anime we have some scenes here which I think it looks nice for the video. So if you can't tell already, I'm a big fan of the games, I've played most of them and I really enjoyed the movie actually. And if you like corny jokes and you like to stare at the screen for 20 hours reading and not really playing, you will probably also like this movie.
弁護人、尋問お願いします。
張り切ってこう、なるほどくん。
クリスマスイブの午前0時を過ぎていたということは、正確にはクリスマス？
But the question is the movie really good? Okay, let's just say it's very dramatic. This is not something that I was expecting, but let's move on.
そこのひらひらの人です。はい。
あの晩は霧が濃かったはずです。本当に被告人だったと断言できますか？
はい。確かにそのひらひらの人でしたね。あ、そうそう。ひらひらさせながら言ってました。まさか人を撃ってしまうとはって。はい。
異議あり。私はそんなこと言っていない。それに私はそこまでヒラヒラしていない。
For those who don't know, the movie covers most of the cases in the first game, which is kinda impressive because the game is about, you know, from start to finish 20 hours and the movie is like 2 hours. So that's like, how are you going to cram all this history, all these jokes, all these things, you know, all these emotions, all these characters in such a small period? Well, this novel-like, romance-like, book-like game like Persona, it's like many other games of the same genre that came to the GBA and DS in the early 2000s. In the main game, you play as Phoenix Wright, this lawyer that has to bluff his way into most of the cases. And all the cases have to be solved in the maximum of 3 days. So it's like an express trial, right? And so many times he is defending his client while there is an investigation, while he is himself doing the investigation. So it's pretty wild, it's packed with action. We also shouldn't forget the story counts not only with this crazy justice system, but also with mediums, talking parrots being used as witnesses, and many other creative and funny ways to do a trial, while being serious and at the same time very funny.
そう。発想を逆転させるの。
やっぱ無理だよね。はい、セビさん、セビさんありがとうございます。ありがとう、ありがとう。はい、無理だよね。
And about the parrot being a witness, it's funny how life imitates art sometimes and sometimes art imitates life, because this actually happened in real life. Something that is also very funny is that the movie in the court, you know, like you can't do a proper court, right? But you can use all this technology to have like these giant screens in the court to do these analysis in the snap of a finger, you know, and it's funny also the way they use these touch screens. Very iconic. This game is so iconic, and also its characters and the names of the characters are so iconic that you can recognize them only by their silhouettes. As I said, not only their silhouette or their figurine it's exceptional, but also their names, you know? When you're playing the game is a big part of it, because they do these puns with the name, they do like funny names, they're also associated with the personality or characteristics of the character, which is something a little bit harder to translate into the anime, I mean movie, but they can do it anyway. Here are my personal favorites. Dick Ganshu, Red White, Larry Butts, Lotta Hart, Frank Sawit, Manfred from Karma. And you know, these puns are so funny in the movie, right? They're so funny they could make someone laugh until they cry. I mean, they're so funny that even devils may cry. He is the main enemy prosecutor in the movie, right? So Manfred hasn't lost a single case in over 40 years. And he took only 1 day of vacation in all of that time. You can say that Manfred is the kind of guy that works while they sleep. You can say he's the kind of guy to take a shit with the toilet door open. You can say he's the kind of guy that will have an aneurysm in his 50s. But what's really cool about him, you know, it's his name. Mein German is not the best, you know, but I was able to understand the name. I get it, now it makes sense. Man freed from karma. To the untrained ear.
Stop it.
Look at his guilty face. This man did something evil and he got away with it. You know, he's not really a man from karma. He's more like a man from Arsch. You know, you got that joke? I know my German viewers got it. My 3 viewers, probably. What's up? The 2 main characters in the movie, Phoenix Wright and Miles Edgeworth. It's Phoenix Wright, the lawyer, and Miles Edgeworth, the prosecutor. By the way, this movie is such a shitshow of wigs. I kind of love it. Also, the figurines are very good, I guess. It's not the same feeling as the game, but I guess that's real life, right? And the music is not bad, but you can't really go wrong when all of these catchy tunes that you have been listening in the background belong to this game. But about Phoenix Wright and Miles Edgeworth, you better be right that this movie is worth it. Even when the story gets boring, it rises like a phoenix, because you really feel that they go the extra mile to make the show worth it. Actually, they go all the way to the edge. The Ace Attorney fans are allegedly completely normal. Another interesting thing of the movie, if you already played the game, you know all the characters, so when they appear on screen, it's very interesting, right? You are welcoming them. You're like, oh, here's Miles Edgeworth, here's Phoenix Wright, here's Larry Butts, here's this, here's that. And if you didn't watch if you didn't play the games, it's more like, who is this? This character looks nice, sounds nice, but you can't really create a connection, you know, that you otherwise would have had if you played a game for 20 hours, or maybe if you played the 3 main games on the DS, where it would be like 60 hours, and then plus the 2 other main games on the 3DS, then it's more for, you know, it's like 100 hours. It doesn't really compare with a 2-hour movie. It also almost, like, don't get me wrong, the movie is pretty good, and so is the director. He really knows what he's doing, and you see that he knows what he's doing. Like, what he chooses to do is done, right? Which is quickly get on with the story. Don't delve too deep into these characters, right? But there is something a little bit suspicious to me, and it's nothing bad, right? But I know that there are these Ace Attorney theaters, right? Some of the people also in the audience of some of the trials, they don't seem like professional actors. They seem more like fans and cosplayers wanting to see the movie being made, right? So you can really feel and see that this movie has a target audience, and this target audience is the fans. It's a good movie, but you wouldn't get everything if you didn't play the games. And the movie parts on this premise that you already know the characters. It can feel like it's a theater play instead of a movie. This is not inherently bad, I just thought it was interesting, and maybe I'm not the only one that had this sensation. So yeah, throughout the whole movie there is this claustrophobic, cramped up feeling, you know, of this 20 hours crammed into the 2 hours. But at the same time, I think it's very interesting what they did with what they had in hand. For example, in this part of the movie, if you already played the game, you recognize here the police mascot, and it's such an funny, interesting little detail, right? But if you never played the game, you wouldn't even bat an eye on that. You would be like, oh, okay, that's nice, just another plushie. So, you know, it can be a good movie for non-fans of the game, but it can also feel a little bit dull and grey. So yeah, about the plot of the movie, Phoenix Wright is aspiring to be this great lawyer, right? But he's only getting started, so he needs help from his mentor, this and that, and he discovers everything along the way. It's very interesting, but in a tragic set of events, he wins his first cases, but his mentor also gets murdered. With the help of long-dated friend and rival Miles Edgeworth, he's able to uncover the truth. But this only uncovers an even bigger case in which prosecutor Miles Edgeworth gets caught in a case where people think that he's the murderer. So, you know, it's this mix of feelings, like it's chaos. Miles is in court now, but not as a prosecutor. Phoenix Wright is defending him. He's not his rival anymore, right? So it's really interesting. And who is the prosecutor in the case? Manfred von Karma. That's the big boss of the game. So yeah, Miles Edgeworth is wrongfully accused of murder, and now Phoenix Wright also has to defend him. If all of that seems very rushed, it's also because it is like that in the movie. If you know the game, you get through all of this plot. If you don't know, maybe you have to pause the movie or watch it twice, because if you so long as blink, you know, for more than a second, you will feel lost. But you know, about the case, Phoenix Wright, of course, with a lot of bluffing and a lot of stalling and a lot of help from mediums, from a parrot, from his friends, from everyone, he can some way prove that Miles Edgeworth is not guilty against this guy that never lost a single case. Not only that, but the plot goes even deeper. He actually uncovers a case in which Manfred von Karma, the only day that he took a day off from work was a day that he murdered Miles Edgeworth's father, which was also another prosecutor. Oh yeah, and all of this makes a lot more sense if you play the game, of course. The movie and the game kind of feels like playing Minecraft or Terraria, and you need the wiki to see all the new stuff, the story behind the game, this, that, you know? Like you need a complement. You need a third wheel on your bicycle to really understand. I mean, you can understand, but it doesn't... Something will always be missing. It's like adapting a whole book into a movie, you know? There are things that will be lost, there are things that will be more interesting in the movie, it's normal. So yeah, by the end of the movie, everyone is happy, Edgeworth is free again, the big evil man, Manfred from Karma, didn't flee from Karma this way. They uncover the real villain, and the guy says, I could have gotten away with it if it wasn't for these kids. The movie is good, you know, also cramped. It could be better translated into a series or an anime, which they have, and it's pretty good. So I heard, I didn't watch it. Now, in all honesty here, I'm hoping that some people that play the game will watch this video, because you know when you get to the end of a trial on the game and you have the breakdown of the characters, right? I'll just explain for some people that didn't play it. Every time you uncover the truth and you discover who this person really is, they have a breakdown. When you really dig deep into someone's personality, you can really find who that person really is, and it's a way of the game to tell you, like, look, you won, this is the climax, this is the end of this case, you get this reward, you know? And these breakdowns are so iconic that there are entire YouTube compilation videos on it. And if you're really a fan, you really want to see that again because it's such a dopamine, you know? Of course, this feeling couldn't be really translated in the movie. They kinda tried, but it doesn't feel the same. You know, like really, if you like stories, if you played Persona, go play this game. It's such a satisfaction. In the end of a case, you feel like, you know, hearing that sound when you open a can of beer after a long day of work, or even better, like you're walking home from school or from work or whatever, and you're like stepping on these dry leaves and you hear the crunches. You know what I'm saying? But objection, you know, regardless of all that, I'll give this movie my honest 8.0 out of 10. That's my score, and of course it is biased, but that's my opinion. If you watched the video until here and you liked it, consider subscribing to help a small creator such as me so I can fully work full-time with YouTube. Thanks a lot and see you in the next video.